Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid land. Thanks for joining me and my buddy Dirty tonight. We have Shane Corson coming on, the extraordinaire from the Olympic Project. He's going to be talking to us about Sasquatch. Then we're going to mix it up a little bit and ask him about some other cryptids. So join us tonight on the Cryptid Quest podcast. Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid land. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have Shane Corson with us. Man, oh man, he's a great investigator. He's out there digging in the trenches for us, trying to find that big guy. Hey, what's going on, Shane? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Patrick. Thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure to
Oh,
see your face again.
yeah. Last time we saw each other, we were singing together. This guy right here's got a set of pipes on him. He
Well,
sounds
you
good.
are, Patrick. You are the karaoke king.
Well, I've been called that once or twice. Well, so Shane, I'm curious, what really got you into the subject of Bigfoot? I mean, have you just been into it all your life, or did something really spark it?
Yeah. So I grew up in Scotland. And over there, my mom got me really interested in cryptids, paleontology specifically. I love dinosaurs, and she kind of got me hooked on mysteries. The Loch Ness monster, the Yeti, Mapinguari, Mokele-Mbembe, and of course Sasquatch. And when we moved to the United States in '93, Southern California, I still had an interest in it. But it wasn't until about '97 when I got my first set of wheels and I could actually get out and drive around myself that I started going up to places like the San Bernardinos, Yosemite, the Sierras, um, trying to investigate, try to be a researcher, uh, and never really had anything happen. I talked to a lot of interesting witnesses over the years back then, from about '97 through 2008 before I moved to Oregon. Now I'm up in Washington now, but um, no, a lot of interesting people I talked to over the years down there. And so at that point in time, I was kind of like 50-50 on the existence. I really liked the
Mhm.
Patterson Gimlin film. And there was some other stuff, Paul Freeman's footage from the Blue Mountains, and the witnesses I had talked to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was interesting, but, I had no tangible evidence of my own. I hadn't seen or heard anything. And so I was like 50-50. And, eventually I got a chance to move up to Oregon, and now I'm up in Washington, full steam ahead. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Cool. So, did you what's your percentage now? I'm sure you're at 100% now. You've had a sighting, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm 110% now for sure.
110%. I love
Oh
it. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, these things, we can argue about what they are all day. That's not as important to me as just knowing they exist, and I do. I had to uh, moved up to Oregon in 2008. My wife and I got married. She's from Oregon, so when we had the chance to move to Oregon, I had never been there, and I said, "Oh shoot, heck yeah, let's get up there." I love California. I love Northern California, but Oregon, like the whole state, well, the western part of the state is very
Mhm.
much like Northern California, a little wetter. But yeah, in 2011, I was out with some friends up in a high mountain lake area, just fishing. That was our deal. We were coworkers. I was an active solo researcher at the time. These guys were just two buddies that like to get out and fish and hike, and we went on a couple of day excursion up in the Mount Hood area of Oregon, and we had a 2-night experience with Sasquatch. The first night I was very skeptical because we had what sounded like rock clanking. We had some knocks. We had something around going around our tents at like 2:30 in the morning, but I never got eyes on it. Didn't hear any vocals. Didn't smell anything. So, you know, uh, up here in the Pacific Northwest, we have bears, we have elk, we have deer, we got mountain lions, we got a lot of different critters. And so in my head, I was like, well, I don't know what the heck that was. It was very interesting. It was a little freaky because it was dead quiet outside. We're in a remote area. Um, but we were there to fish. So the next day we get up and go hit some other high mountain lakes. And it was the second night, about the same time in the morning, that whatever was there the first night came back. Same thing. Sounded like rock clanking, stomping around our tents. maybe a couple of percussives like knocks, and had 5 of the most powerful wood knocks or percussives I've ever heard to date. That shook across the valley, across the
Oh,
lake, bounced
wow.
back. You could feel them in the ground. It reverberated underneath our tents. And then we had a rock come in shortly after that landed next to my buddy's tent, and he was closest to the lake. I unzipped my tent, was looking around, and that's when I saw this thing 40 feet away or so behind a tree, just swaying back and forth. Just it looked
Yeah.
like a double-sided refrigerator with a head, a
Oh my
shoulder,
God.
and hands. And that's what I saw in the front of this big Doug fir, this old growth, with just fingers,
Yeah.
an arm, a shoulder, and just swaying
Oh, wow.
back and forth. And I'm just peering at it, not freaked out. Don't know what I'm looking at exactly, but I can tell that this is a big figure. And then it
Yeah.
dropped its arm to its side, turned its back on me, and went down this trail. Well, up this trail actually, and disappeared. And I got a good enough look at this thing. When it was swaying back and forth, there was a branch above its head
Yeah.
that I eventually, not at that time, I eventually went back a little while later, 2 months later, because at that time I was pretty freaked out. Wasn't sure if I
Yeah.
wanted to go back to the woods, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But that, I got a height of about 7 to 7.5 feet tall, and I didn't get I won't say I got a whole lot of detail, but I mean, I could see fingers, I could see hair, I could see an arm, I could see a shoulder and a head and a body moving in and out, and then turned its back on me and walked down this trail. It just solidified for me that there was
Yeah.
Sasquatch. And then also, having looked at this experience, never had anything happen before. I ran into black bears loads of times, California to Oregon, blah, blah. And I have a healthy respect for black bear. I've chased them off literally. This was something different because I knew at the time, I didn't know what I was looking at. But, as I sat there, when this thing went up the trail and I'm sitting in my tent, I'm like, I just saw Bigfoot. And I wasn't out there doing anything Bigfoot related. I was
Yeah.
out on a fishing trip.
Yeah.
We were chopping firewood, being obnoxious campers,
Yeah.
and so beside that solidifying to me that Sasquatch is real, there's no doubt about it in my brain now. Later on, after looking at this, I started to realize that I wasn't a real researcher. I wasn't going about it the right way. There was a lot of things in my head. I'm like, well, I wasn't out there knocking on trees. I wasn't, not that I don't even do that now, but all these things you think you should be doing as a researcher, and yet I was just on a fishing trip, not being a researcher.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me, because the reason being is because you have a pretty healthy amount of investigator, researchers, enthusiasts out there that are doing all these things.
And nothing
And
happens.
nothing happens. It's always those individuals that are just being interesting, that are not even, they're kind of oblivious to what's around them, like we were.
Yeah.
And you have this experience. And so I started thinking about in my head, what did we do? Why 2 nights in a row? Those encounters are rare.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So and well, you have what you're part of the Olympic project, and I know you guys have been doing a lot of great research with that. Now, wasn't it you guys that did the bird type deal, transmitter GPS?
No, that was the NAAAC, the NOAC, North American Wood Ape
Oh, okay.
Conservancy. That's that those guys are, and I know quite a few of them. Amazing group, doing amazing things. That was down in eastern Oklahoma, I believe, in Area X.
Okay.
Their spot,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
no, great guys,
Now I
doing
feel
amazing
stupid.
things. Oh, no, don't, not at all.
I
I
get
mean,
there's so much good stuff going on, man. That just sometimes it's hard for me to keep up with it.
yeah,
So I
don't
know
feel bad.
you guys been finding a lot of nests, though. I know that. And what are your thoughts on those nests? I mean, obviously something's making them, and they're quite large. And I'm sure you're not finding any type of evidence of machine cutting, like humans cutting it. It probably torn and twisted. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what you're finding?
Yeah, so just for context, the original nest, to date we found 24 of them,
Holy cow!
including including 2 that were all these 22 of them are ground nests, large ground nests. And then 2 of them were what we call almost like practice nests that were made in the huckleberry a couple of feet off the ground. So they're like a mirror image of what was on the ground, but they wouldn't hold any weight.
Huh.
It was almost like a practice nest. And I can expand upon that in a minute. But yeah, so a timber surveyor back in 2015 came across these, and he'd been a timber surveyor for a major timber company up here in the Pacific Northwest for 27 years, off trail hiking. He's seen it all, ran into animals, and he came across these ground nests that kind of freaked him out. He had never seen anything like that before. And he got a hold of Derek Randles of the Olympic Project, who's the founder, and brought Derek out there and the owner of the property and a few DNR Department of Natural Resources out there. And nobody had an explanation for these large, they're anywhere from 3 by 6 to 4 by 9, oval in shape, bathtub in shape, made all out of huckleberry boughs. Now, these nests are 2.5 miles behind a lock gate and then way off trail. There's no trails. There's no machinery that can even get down there. It's nasty terrain. The huckleberry in this area is so thick, upwards of 9 feet tall sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
And super thick. No trails, no machinery. And so when you get down into these areas, now you don't have 24 nests in one spot. You would have maybe 7 here on a finger coming off a ridge.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at my knuckles, it's like the ridge line. You have these fingers coming off, a couple 100 yards apart, 75 yards apart, and you would have groups or clusters of nests along the end of these fingers above a very steep drop off to a salmon bearing creek. And so they were constructed intelligently. We brought, you see this guy out here, the late Dr. Meldrum. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Take a moment of silence for him, man. We're gonna miss him.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about him some more, but yeah, we brought him out there eventually just to get a look at these, and he was blown away. We brought in wildlife biologists, bear biologists, zookeepers, and nobody has an explanation for it. It's not black bear behavior. There's no sign of a human being in this area. Some of the boughs that are broken are 9 feet off the ground. Some of them are a foot off the ground. All the huckleberry leaves have been stripped off, in some cases piled up next to the nests. I mean, there is so much. I was living in Oregon at the time when these nests were found. I was so enthralled and amazed when I got a chance to go view them and then subsequently find more that I moved to Washington. That's how enamored, how amazed I was, because I've been off trail hiking. I've never seen anything like these.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that you guys found them, because I'm sure they've always been there, but it took somebody to find them and recognize what they're looking at. Do you think there's anything behind the fact that they use huckleberry boughs? Do you think that's just the easiest thing for them to get, or is it just for ease of construction for them?
Yeah, Patrick, that's a great question. So in this area, you have rhododendron. You have the ground cover would be salal, which they have berries, but the most prevalent plant in this area is huckleberry.
Okay.
So it would only make sense in a lot of ways. It's just right there for literally the picking, and it does produce berries, amazing berries. But a friend of mine by the name of Wes, who goes by the moniker Squatchermetrics, excuse me. He's a data analysis by trade. He's very intelligent. He asked me one day the same kind of question. He's like, is there any medicinal purposes behind the huckleberry?
Huh.
And I said, well, obviously the berries are great for you, right? But we believe these nests are being made in the month of February and March. When they were originally discovered, the original cluster, that was in May. We did an experiment where Derek and I went out and rebuilt a nest in February, and we watched it decay over a couple of months, and it was very similar to what was discovered in May. And so we started making this hypothesis that they're being February and March, and kind of proved to be true later on. But the huckleberry leaf, come to find out, doctors used to give female women, I guess that's the same thing, right? A female woman, I meant a human, but yeah, a concoction of huckleberry leaf and sugar after childbirth to help them regain their strength. And so that got my wheels turning a little bit, because we had been kind of thinking that these nests were made, we think, for a span of time, not like prolonged, maybe a couple of days to a week or longer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're different sizes, and they're just in a really great area. And so to find out there's the huckleberry leaf, given to women, maybe the Sasquatch, maybe it was a birthing or a birthing area where they were eating the huckleberry leaves to regain their strength. I mean, and besides just the nest and the huckleberry, the hair in there, nobody can tell us what the hair is. It matches other unknown hair. It lacks the medulla.
Medulla,
Yeah, which is kind of like the Fehrenbach gold standard of what possibly Sasquatch hair is. It lacks, if you think of a pencil, the medulla would be the lead in that pencil.
In the middle, yep.
Yeah, and these hairs, not just the ones we've come across, but ones in California to Alaska, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, many other places, British Columbia. When these hairs are found, they lack the medulla, and they're, for all intents and purposes, they are primate hair. We sent it to a couple of different areas, labs, but it's not,
recognized.
Not recognized, exactly. So you have that, and then so these nests, I didn't know really anything. I didn't know anything about nests. Like, I didn't even associate nests with Sasquatch whatsoever.
I wouldn't even have associated it with apes at all. I didn't even know that great apes actually do that too.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. So we started looking at images. Derek did, Randall's. Started looking at doing all this work, because we're hunters. We're all over the place. We've seen bear beds, even mini bear nests, so to speak. Elk beds. We've seen it all, and so, but we want to rule everything out before we can rule anything in.
Yeah.
And so the closest thing we could find, after much research, was a gorilla nest. I mean, that was the closest thing, like a silverback, like a cross river gorilla or a mountain gorilla. That was the closest thing. And so that was really interesting. But I wanted to know if anybody else in history has found odd nests that maybe they would associate with Sasquatch. And lo and behold, I found many sources. John Bindernagel, the late Dr. John Bindernagel, in his book, he's got representations and stories of nests being found. Paul Freeman, he talks about nests that he discovered. Robert Alley wrote a fantastic book called this Raincoat Sasquatch. He's got a picture in there that looks just like the nest we came across from Alaska, made out of different material, but the same MO. They're found on western facing slopes, usually above a body of water, usually a salmon bearing creek or something to that. Not all the time. They're oval or round in shape, very, over a foot in depth, where you can just see something heavy is being laid in the middle and constructed. The boughs are usually kind of formulated in a fashion that it takes intelligence, with big breaks, something with an opposable thumb, as we recognize it would take to do. But a lot of people don't know this. I know I'm all in for the Patterson Gimlin film. I'll tell you that right now. I'm 100% on it. I know Bob Gimlin very well. No, I'm 100% on it.
Yeah.
Not even a question. But what a lot of people don't know is that in 1967, that film was taken October 20th of 1967. Well, there was a timber cruiser surveyor not too far away from there in 1967, above Scorpion Creek, which feeds into Bluff Creek.
Yeah.
And Bluff Creek is where Patty was filmed. Scorpion Creek's a stone's throw away. There was a nest found by a timber surveyor, and he described it exactly like what we've been led to find and what we have found. So there is, I guess what I'm getting at is, there is a precedence for nests being found. And also, if you look at Patty, she's a female.
Yeah.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people speculate, did she give birth? Was she about to give birth? Was she spotted because there was little ones around? She's trying to take Roger and Bob's attention away. All speculation, but interesting. She's definitely a female.
Yeah.
Or, so.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a size 14. That was what they casted. Well, what we're casting in the nest area are size 14-inch tracks. Other sizes, but that is one of the most prominent tracks we've come across in this giant nest area. And so nothing's absolute, but it's fascinating
Yeah,
when you start making comparisons and
yeah.
know that there have been other nests found and people were
Wow, I
talking
didn't
about
know
them.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
didn't.
I wonder how finally. So, do we actually know who's the one that finally put their finger on it that they were nests? Did the guy in 1967, did he call it a nest or did he just describe it?
Yeah, his name was Lyle Laverty. He did an interview with Bigfoot Times, Daniel Perez. It's on,
Oh
I think,
yeah.
yeah, Daniel Perez. He interviewed him, and that's how I learned about these nests that
Oh,
this guy
wow.
Lyle Laverty had come across. Um, and so I don't know who coined it or even associated with him. I think Lyle at the time just thought it was weird because he's just a
Yeah.
timber guy. It's like this timber guy that found the nest that we were led to originally. The first 7, we found
Mhm.
more after the fact. But that first 7 he found, and he just thought it was weird. He'd never seen anything like it, and started reaching out to people that were, like my buddy Derek Randall's. And so I don't know if any of those guys associated that with Sasquatch at the time.
Yeah.
They just was like, "What in the world am I looking at? This is
Yeah.
weird. Never seen anything like this." So, um, like I said, Paul Freeman in an interview he did with Ray Crow, or a speaking engagement with Ray Crow back in, I think it was '97, down in Portland, Oregon. I got to listen to this. It's on YouTube. I think it's under the Sasquatch Archives or Bigfoot Archives. Anyways, you could find that on there too. Paul
Okay.
Freeman talks about nests, and he describes them way back then perfectly, the same thing. So, as you stated earlier, people can argue with me. Oh, well, maybe they're not Sasquatch. I tend to believe they are for a lot of reasons because of the
Yeah.
hand impressions we found, the tracks, the hair, the abnormal stuff in this area.
Yeah.
But I can't. I haven't seen a Sasquatch make a nest. I think we've
Huh.
gotten close one time, but they're being found in conjunction with Sasquatch sightings reports, and so you're seeing this track record, this MO, the same, and it's all pointing toward one thing and away from everything else.
Huh. Okay. And I've got this is kind of an odd question, but I've been hearing it from some people. I know Shane Carpenter out here in Missouri has been finding a lot of this stuff. And since you're talking, and he's got a theory that it's small juvenile Sasquatch doing this. Holes with sticks in them. Have you heard anything about this?
I have not. So, but that's interesting. I know of Shane Carpenter and follow some of his research as well. So
And I've heard it from more than one person,
mhm.
and the reason his theory is, he says he finds these holes about this deep, about that big around, and he'll find a stick in it, and he says then he'll find small tracks around it.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah,
kind of why so I was just saying, if those nests are children or birthing mothers, they might have other uh, small Sasquatch,
yeah.
and maybe you might have seen something like that, or I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. In this area, I have not. And the prep is something else that you just brought up. So within 10 miles of this area, on 2 different occasions, there were logging long haulers that would haul logs out of these areas, and they would go behind some or in front of these gates, waiting for them to be unlocked. 2 different individuals, a month apart, that didn't know each other,
Hmm.
saw what they would describe as a big Sasquatch, a smaller Sasquatch, and then 2 smaller ones. This
Oh,
is within 10 miles, which
oh
to me is
wow.
nothing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
is that if Sasquatch are making these nests, is that the group? I don't know, but you reminded me of that. So, I've not found anything quite like that in or team has it in the nest area, but I was working with Sarah and Jonathan Brown, the Browns. I don't know if you're aware of them. The
Yeah, yeah.
Salish Sasquatch, yeah. Years ago, and I was walking on their property, and they used to have, they don't anymore, but there used to be like this big open field, pasture field, and cows would come through. They weren't theirs; they were farmers' cows, and they would pasture, and they would defecate, drop a cow patty. What I started finding on their property, I thought was super weird because it wasn't one time, it wasn't 2 times, and in some cases it was multiple times during the same day in a line, was sticks in the cow patty, and it was like something was stirring up the cow patties, but it was
Wow.
stuck in there.
Yeah.
I can't say I found any good tracks. I found scuff marks where something had been there. But what puts sticks and
Exactly.
smears it around, and leaves them standing in there, and sometimes you'd see 3 in a row. Sometimes you'd see 1 here or there. So, and they were having Sasquatch activity. They got one of the best thermal videos out there, and they had some of the biggest photos and audio.
Oh, yeah.
So again, did Sasquatch do it? I don't know, but I honestly don't know what else. Sometimes there were bigger sticks, sometimes there were smaller ones. Is it juvenile? Is it? I have no idea, but I thought it was very weird. Are they looking for grubs? Or are they just, who knows? I mean, I have no idea, but I thought it was very weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I love just talking about this stuff because I think there's a great possibility that it all is connected to Sasquatch, even though we don't have solid proof. But it's just fun to hear what people's ideas on this stuff is. And another thing that I've been getting a lot of like different theories on what it is you brought it up earlier, the power knocks, the wood knocks. I've been hearing more and more lately how people are starting to say they don't think it's them actually hitting a tree with a stick. It's them either making the sound with their mouth or with their hand. The one guy I interviewed said he witnessed one do it with his hands, smacking his hands together, and it sound just like a wood knock. Do you think they actually are hitting trees? What's your take on it?
Both. And so David Ellis of the Olymp Project, he's one of our audio gurus. He's worked with people all across the United States. He came up with that idea of it being more mechanical, like a chest slap or a mouth pop.
Okay.
He came up with that back probably in 2014 or 13. But he does believe they do wood knock. Now, I do believe that they're quite capable of doing a mouth pop, or, I think they whistle. Are they, slapping a hand? But I go back to my original encounter in August of 2011 when I felt them, and my buddies did in their tents too, something hitting a tree. You could feel the reverberation. You could hear the echo. But what happened, like within 10, 15 seconds of those, maybe 20 seconds of that tree being hit, a rock came out of from that area. So in the Pacific Northwest specifically, especially around Mount Hood, even in August, a lot of the wood up there, the limbs, they're soggy.
Yeah.
When you go to hit something, it's just going to explode. Yeah. But a rock, you could snap a tree and then you could throw it. So I think a lot of the knocks are actually rocks on trees, because there's reports of rocks being thrown. Some people think Sasquatch hunts with rocks, deer and elk.
Yeah.
I've taken a few reports like that. But that rock that came in was softball size in Atlanta, right next to my buddy's tent. The nest area, the only rocks on this knoll that were above ground in that area. Now, you had tons of rocks down by the creek and the river, but there was no other rocks above ground. But what we call the point nest, because the nests were kind of in a V formation, the larger nests on the outside, the smaller nests on the inside, which shows me that the big guys or big ladies are protecting something smaller inside. Hypothesizing, of course. But there was 2 rocks that we call the point nest, which is right below the deep slope down to the river. These rocks were softball size, and they had, when we picked them up, they had score marks, like something had been smacking. Clear as day. I got pictures, and I still have the rocks. Yeah. Score marks. Something had been smacking them together. All that to say is that I believe that a lot of these knocks we're hearing could either be rock clanking or a rock on a tree, because that's a real good tool that won't break. 100%. Not that they don't use limbs, and not that they don't do mouth pops and claps and all. I think they do. Yeah. I why not? But I think a lot of the power stuff, sometimes it's a really solid, you got a solid piece of oak or something, sure. But the rocks, Barcatino, if you ever see his footage on YouTube, he's got some amazing footage of 3 possible, maybe 4 Sasquatch individuals up in the Sierras. And he did his homework, and they did a great comparison, put someone else there. These things were massive and uniform in color. But in one scene, you see something being tossed, and it's hot. And they're pretty sure it was a rock. Oh, yeah. Well, why was the rock hot? Because it was probably being held by a large hand, and that heat transferred to the rock. So when you see it thrown, it just looks like it's got an arc to it, right where these individuals were. So it's something you can carry around. And whether you have to communicate, beat a tree, throw it at game, throw it at a person, whatever. It just makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I may have heard the rock theory before, but if I haven't, man, that's like on top of my list right now, because that makes a lot of sense, because you're not always going to have a limb laying right where you need it. I don't think they're just carrying them around in the woods, but a rock you carry right in your hand. Or there's more rocks on the ground, and they're more likely to find a good rock before you're going to find a good limb.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
I
just
like
ideas, throwing spaghetti
yeah,
at the wall and seeing what
yeah,
sticks.
yeah. So, and I'm not trying to bring you into the woo bus or anything, but I
Yeah.
do have to ask, have you ever seen any orbs out there? And I'm not saying that the orbs and Bigfoot are connected, but it just seems really weird how a lot of this stuff is happening in the same spots, because where I had my Sasquatch experience, I also saw an orb. It didn't happen at the same time. It was different occasions, but I don't know. Do you have any theories, or have you seen any?
It's a healthy question. I've had friends claim to have seen them, good friends. So before I talk about what I've seen, and you kind of touched upon this, and kudos to you, but I think people do see weird things in the woods, whether it's orbs. And then I always have an issue. If you're a Sasquatch researcher, why not associate that orb with a bear? Because bears are in the same, or an elk. Why does it have to be a Sasquatch? I always, immediately people, especially Sasquatch researchers, jump and go, "Oh, well, I saw an orb, so it's got to be associated with Sasquatch."
Yeah.
I'm like, not at all. Not everybody, but some people do that, and I think people are seeing things. Don't get me wrong. I personally never seen an orb.
Oh,
The one time I did, we were up in the Olympics. It was like midnight. I was taking a group out. We're hiking along, and somebody had noticed this blue thing in the woods, like 100 yards away. And we were up on an elevated, and it was downhill, but it was high. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what people are talking about. I see an orb. It looks
yeah.
like a ball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it looked like a ball.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I am, and I've got myself in trouble. I've been charged by black bear before because the eyes don't look like black bear, and it ends up being a black bear, and I'm dumb. But I gotta know. So like this thing we were seeing, it's midnight. I went down the hill towards it. I went down the hill towards it, got to the area where I thought it was, kind of lost for a second. I'm like 100, maybe 75 to 100 yards away from my group downhill, and I'm looking around, and I look up, and I see something blue. It was a mushroom. It was a firefox mushroom. I did not even know they were in the Olympics. It's a bioluminescent mushroom, and it was glowing blue.
That's so cool.
So for me, I've never seen an actual orb. I thought I did that time. I went the extra mile to figure out what it was, and I did figure out what it was. It was not an orb. It was a mushroom. But I don't discount people are seeing orbs and stuff.
Yeah.
But I keep waiting to see one. I'm out in the woods.
I don't know,
3,
man.
4
It's
times
pretty
a week.
scary.
Hey, some people say it about Sasquatch, and it can be.
Well, yeah.
Some people say that about all sorts of stuff, but I just got such a curiosity. People are seeing something. I want to see it. I really do, because I love mysteries.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You and me both. So yeah, and I think a lot of it might even, and I'm not connecting the two at all.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I think the Earth itself, and now's when I might get a little woo.
Oh sure.
I think the Earth itself has energy points on it, like certain areas just attract energy, attract things, and I think maybe Sasquatch is attracted to that, and it just seems, because UFOs get seen in the same places, and I'm not connecting them two either. But why are you seeing all these things in the same spot? There's got to be a reason. I think.
Oh, there could be. I mean, UFOs. I mean, they are seen in cities and volcanoes and all this stuff. I mean, orbs. Yeah, they're seen in the woods. Bigfoot seen in the woods. I mean, there's a lot of things. So I don't know if there's an association. I'm not gonna be so arrogant to stand here and go, no. So I have no idea. I'm just saying with what my experience in the woods. And not even bragging, but I spent, I'm out there 3 or 4 days a week, sometimes longer. I've been in California, Oregon, Washington. I've never seen an orb.
Yeah.
But people are seeing stuff. There was a new study about lights in the woods. I don't have the article on me right now, but it was a really good scientific idea of what people are seeing. And you could probably look it up. It's fresh out within the last couple of weeks. But who knows? I mean, because
Yeah.
I have a good friends that were out camping, some lady friends of mine, and they saw one, and the way they described it, this wasn't like a swamp gas. This wasn't, it was really odd how it reacted and grew, expanded. So they didn't associate with Sasquatch, but it was their description. I'm like, I have no idea what you saw, but it sounds weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, mine followed me. It scared the hell out of me. So it wasn't a mushroom, but I don't know what it was. So, and you're probably gonna hate me after this interview.
No, not at all.
I kind of like thinking about the weird stuff just in case. And I'm not saying Bigfoot, and I don't believe Bigfoot is paranormal, but I do think that they are capable of doing things with their mind that we just don't know about. I've never been, I've never gotten the mind speak or anything like that. But when I hear certain people like Les Stroud talked about it, and I got a lot of respect for that guy. And I don't think he would lie about something like that. I just wonder what that's all about. And I'm not, you don't have you don't have to take a road either way, but I just want to get your thoughts on the whole mind speak thing.
Yeah, I've never had that happen to me either. When I had my encounter in 2011, I remember at one point, especially the first and the second night, but when those knocks came in, that the sheer amount of power, I remember laying on the ground in my tent. I felt paralyzed. I mean, I did, and I had to. It was fear and adrenaline, and I said, I had a sidearm on me. We all were armed. I said, calm down. I walked myself out of it and unfeared, unparalyzed myself. So people are like, well, maybe you were zapped. I'm like, no, I was petrified. Like, this, I thought this thing was going to come in and kill us, like smash us to a pulp. The power. I mean, you had to have been there, right? But I was petrified. So I walked myself out of that. I've been in lots of harrowing experiences, both known and unknown, whether it's Sasquatch or not. I've never had any mind speak. I've never felt like I was zapped or sizzled or whatever they call it. Some people do claim that. I cannot rule it out. I'm not a proponent of it, but then again, I'm not an expert on Sasquatch. So, is it infrasound? I've never had that happen either, but I know other people that are great people that claim to have. I can't rule anything out. The telepathy thing, again, I don't know too many people that are honest. I'll put it that way, because I've talked to a few that are not honest, where they've seen a Sasquatch and then heard it speaking to them. Not many. Most of the time, they just have these voices in their head. I'm like, well, sound like a schizophrenic to me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but again, and I could go down a rabbit hole with you when it comes to what's in the woods, because I come from a whole nother thing. I've had friends that were battling things in their lives, and it would manifest in the woods. And they were Bigfoot researchers, and they would see things like glowing red eyes in a dark shadow, and they would feel scared and feel the coldness. I don't think that's Sasquatch. I think that is something completely else. When people go to the woods, especially at nighttime, they're afraid, the dark, they're not familiar with. There's all sorts of stuff you can that either can really be there that will take advantage of that, in my opinion, or you can freak yourself out and see what you want to see. Not everybody. Again, I'm not putting everybody in one box. I'm saying I've been out with people where they're seeing something and I don't see it. I just don't. I'm like, I don't feel any fear. But they're sure of it. I'm like, okay. Hey, calm down. You're good. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
So there's examples where, and again, like the mind speak thing, Les Stroud's a great guy. I hope to work with him down the road here. But I wasn't there for his experience at all. I wasn't there for people that claim this stuff in many cases. Sometimes I wonder, okay, unless you saw a Sasquatch do it, like I do associate rock throwing and banging, but did I see a Sasquatch do it? No. So at the end of the day, I can't 100% say a Sasquatch threw a rock or hit a tree or was stomping around. Well, I did see it stomp. I did see one in 2011. So all that, I didn't see it do that stuff, but it was there at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of going along with what you're saying about the orbs and stuff too. So Who knows?
I know, I do. I know. Hey, you know what? I have this conversation with a lot of people, and we've not come up with the answer yet, but it's fun to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of refreshing. I do these podcasts here and there. Haven't done one in a while, and I usually get the same question. So I'm glad you're making me think a little bit.
Yeah, well, here we're going to mix it up a little bit more. We're going to veer off Sasquatch a little bit. Out of all the other cryptids out there, there's a lot of really cool cryptids. Are there any that you believe? Because I'm with you on the Sasquatch thing. I think Sasquatch 100% exists, but there's a lot of others that I just don't know about, and I think there's a possibility. Are there any that you think there's a possibility that they might exist, or any that? Go ahead.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Not so much in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm not a proponent of, me again personally, Dogman or that stuff.
That's where I was going.
Okay, well, so Dogman, where are all the dog pups, the little ones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think about that, and I think Dogman's either got to be something paranormal, or that something paranormal that we just don't understand. It's from another dimension, something we just totally don't understand, or people are misidentifying Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at if you look into the hide behind, which is like a southern thing, like Louisiana, the hide behind. Now, supposedly it has a tail, but it's called the hide behind because they used to hide behind trees and peek out. And it's a very fascinating cryptid that sounds very much like Sasquatch, but possibly the Dogman thing. I remember Linda Godfrey, God rest her soul, talking to her a long time ago, and she really put Dogman on the map. When I was getting into Sasquatch, you never really heard about Dogman. You really didn't. Yeah. I don't care if it was in books. Occasionally. When Linda Godfrey started, the Beast of Bray Road and all that stuff, it exploded. I mean, and then everybody starts seeing them. So I don't know.
Maybe I just know a planted thought.
No, I think, again, people are seeing things. Is it misidentification? I don't know. So
fear does a lot.
Yeah, I don't really buy into that, but I don't really care because it's not my thing. So I let others do that, and I kind of peer in every once in a while. But and there's other, chupacabra and all that. I don't really care, quite honestly. But I'll tell you what I do believe is out there is certain water cryptids. It's kind of that was one of my first loves with paleontology and the Loch Ness Monster.
Loch Ness, yeah.
One of the ones I think is real, almost without a doubt, is if you've heard of Caddy or Cadborosaurus.
Yeah.
That's you basically seen from off the coast of Northern California all the way up through Alaska and British Columbia. And they have that famous photo from, I think it's the 60s, where they were whale hunting and they cut open the whale and they put this weird looking, well, they call it caddy thing on like two sawhorses, or let's spread it out. And it looks like what everybody describes. It's got two front flippers. It's got like a horse's or camel's head and a mane.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's many credible reports of that being out there. The Hillstrands, they were on that show Deadliest Catch. They were up there and they saw some orcas chasing something, and they described them chasing a cadborosaur, a caddy, or a sea serpent. I think with a lot of our lakes, not all of them, around the world, I look at and I'm not. It's just an interest of mine. I don't research this stuff. I'm 100% in for Sasquatch. I don't have time, but it is interesting that when I look at salmon, they spawn in rivers, then they go out to sea for a couple years, and they come back to that same river, spawn, die, right? So circle of life. I think a lot of these sea serpents maybe give birth in freshwaters if they have access to the freshwater, just like a salmon. They go out to sea, they do a thing, they come up, they don't necessarily die in the lake like a salmon does, and they go back out to the ocean. And so that's why there's these big lulls between sightings, like really good sightings.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't give birth every year. Maybe they spend a couple years in the ocean and come up these channels, these creeks, these rivers, and give birth in the lakes if there's access, and then they go back out to sea. And so you have not just the sea serpents, you have the water serpents. And a lot of times they're described the same. They look the same. So just an idea. I throw that out there to anybody that's into that sort of research, because I've talked to a few, like Scott Martis. He passed away as well, and he used to be on my podcast, Monster X Radio. He did a sub show all about water cryptids, and it was very fascinating. he had expert paleontologists on there and others. But I threw that idea at him, and he had never thought about that. And I said, well, some lakes are there's no salt water remotely close. There's no chance of getting there. It's landlocked.
Yeah.
But there's many, many lakes that have access to salt water. The salmon go in there. Why not? Seals do, eels. Why not a water cryptid? And maybe that's where they give birth. I have no idea. It's just a thought. So I do think there are certain water-associated cryptids are definitely real.
Well, I tend to agree with you there, and main reason I agree is because the ocean is so vast, and the water, we don't have full understanding of what's all going on under there. Hell, we don't even have the full understanding of what's. So what they say, there's like a very high percentage of the ocean that's unexplored. It's like 90% or something.
Yeah, it's like 90-95%. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
it's mental.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know what I'd rather do. Be able to get like the full picture of the entire everything in the ocean, or find out that Sasquatch is real. Like, if I could just snap my fingers and have one of the two, they're both to me are like right there. But I think I'd have to bump Sasquatch up the list. Just
I'd come from a different approach. For me, I know Sasquatch exists, so I actually want to know what's in the ocean.
Yeah. There you go. Well,
I do. I would love to.
Oh, I would too. Because when you said that earlier, it brought me back to my childhood. Because honestly, Nessie is the first thing that I was interested in before I even knew what the hell Sasquatch was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember at some point they were searching, and I still remember the picture of the flipper they got.
The flipper, the long neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's something out there too, and I love your theory about how they're going up into the fresh water and back to the ocean, because I mean they're probably following that food source too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be a birthing scenario, it could be a food source scenario.
Yeah.
Who freaking knows? I mean, who knows? But just a thought, just hey, let's think outside the box here a little bit. Why are we getting both? Water freshwater cryptids and ocean cryptids. You think the freshwater ones would be proven by now?
Yeah,
but maybe they're not always in there. They come and they go.
You brought up the Mapinguari. That's like the sloth creature, isn't it?
Yeah, South America.
Yeah, I think there might be. Did some of them down there really? I think there's a chance that they might be real too, just because it's so isolated from the world. That, and then I don't know what they. I can't remember what they call it. The one in the Congo that's supposed to be like brontosaurus.
A Mokalemembe.
Mokalemembe, that's it.
Yeah. There could be something to that too. I mean, these remote places like Papua New Guinea, where they talk about the rope and the flying pterodactyls.
Yeah.
I mean, in these remote areas, I mean, even off the coast of Papua New Guinea, they talk about water cryptids all the time. And so these are things I grew up on listening to and going, well, they're anywhere. I mean, they would be in those locations.
Yeah.
In South America, I think there's a lot of mystery still down there. A lot of different cryptids that could be, we call everything's cryptid, like it has to be some sort of monster or something. No, I'm talking about just like unknown animals to science.
Correct.
Like giant ground sloths. Could there still be out there? I don't know. Maybe. There's sightings of Sasquatch in Mexico. Makes sense, right? Because Sasquatch doesn't know borders. Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah. That's what it kills me when people. Well, Sasquatch can't, because there's no sightings. Well, they don't know like you said, they don't know the borders. They don't know what the states are. They don't care. And something that really strikes me about the creatures down in South America is the natives come out and they talk about it, and they talk about it just like it's a regular creature or an animal that they, like a deer or something else. Just say the same way the Native Americans used to talk about Sasquatch as another animal, like an owl or a bear or whatever. So, just because we think we know the entire world doesn't mean we do.
Yeah, great example, Malaysia. And I forget the exact province, but it was Malaysia. The natives there, Aborigines, natives there, were talking about these hairy apes that were in this area, and they knew they were there, and they had a name for them like Old Man of the Woods or something. They were talking about it forever, but Western science said, no, we would have found them. They're not there. They're not there. And that was for years and years and years. And then in 2017, the Tapanuli orangutan was discovered, which is the fifth or sixth new species of great ape that science had no, they said they poo-pooed it, but yet the natives, the ones that live there, that have been living there for eons, were talking about saying, yeah, they're there, they're real. And then, they found a skull, and then they found that there was a group of 500 Tapanuli orangutan. That's the name they gave to them. But orangutan in this remote area in the forest that they had over 500. They had no idea were there, surviving, thriving. Again, who was telling them, hey, I mean, look at America. That I know tribe members. I know First Nations people, and they're, Sasquatch, yeah, they're real. Yeah, what's the big deal? In science as a whole, no, we would have found bones. We would have done this. Well, nah, see, that's the arrogance that kills me, because, again, and I preach this at when I'm asked to present, nobody is born a scientist. I respect science. Project Zoo book with Amy Boo is amazing. There's a lot of academic, brilliant minds in there that are open to have a conversation about it. That's all I ask for.
Yeah.
It's all Dr. John Bitternagel asked for. It's all Dr. Meldrum asked for.
Yeah.
And so just that. But nobody is born a scientist. The foundation of science is observation. Way back when, before the first scientist was out there, somebody had to observe something enough times, maybe hypothesize, test it, to the point where they became an expert at that science, or what now became science. So I look at a lot of Sasquatch researchers, investigators, as what is our job? We're here to observe something that we either know exists, or something that we want to know if it exists. We want to look for evidence. So we're at the beginning of the Sasquatch research and observation. So we're citizen scientists. Eventually, science will catch up. They're behind the curve. And so I feel smarter than them sometimes with the Sasquatch phenomenon, because I know they exist, and we're finding evidence. There's a lot of stuff out there. So yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, I love science, but they I think are behind the curve on this, and a lot of us.
I agree. Out there. Yeah. I agree with you. There's a lot of evidence in their face that they really can't refute, but they still do. So
100%, yeah, drives me nuts.
Yeah, but me too, buddy.
But it's growing. It's growing. There are a lot of scientists coming out of what I call the Sasquatch closet, or they're not out of the closet yet, but they're opening the door and peering out, going, hey, I'm interested, but I can't have my name out there because I like my job. I need funding. I don't want to be ridiculed, but we keep it in a private setting. And Project Zubug is amazing for doing that.
It aggravates, that part aggravates the hell out of me, that the scientific community wants to come down on people for doing what they're supposed to do, researching things and seeing if, what's what. But if you research the wrong thing, we don't want you no more. Just not right.
Yeah. It is what it is. But all we can do is plug ahead and bring science to them, bring discovery to them, and then they'll have to play catch up.
Yeah. Well, Shane, I sure appreciate you coming on with us tonight. Is there anything you want to promote or tell to the people before we get off of here?
Yeah, Patrick. I mean, obviously, I'm with the Olymp Project. I don't want to say I'm the face of them here, but I work with amazing individuals, male, female, amazing people. We're all like-minded, so I want to give credit to where credit's due. I'm not a one-man band. I work with amazing people. If people want to keep up with my personal research and some of the stuff I do with the Olymp Project, check out my YouTube channel. I need to update it. It's been a couple months, but I got more material to put out there. It's called Sasquatch in the Mist. Sasquatch in the Mist, and I'm going to be updating that. But there's some pretty cool videos on there. It's not groundbreaking, but if you enjoy Sasquatch and you maybe want to keep up with the Olympic Project and myself, check it out. So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I guarantee anything you got on there is going to be good. So
I appreciate Patrick.
So, All right. Well, everybody out there in Cryptid Land, thanks for joining us tonight, and keep it creepy. Out. Okay.
Yeah, out in the woods where the shadows creep. I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. Like I'm on a quest, searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.